Welcome to June Focus Friday. Good to see everyone again. Hope you find something to learn and get out of the presentations you're going to see. We've got Renee and Mark talking about their topics, and then at the end, I'll be talking about mainframe specific issues for those of you who work on mainframes. So hopefully you're going to be staying for that. A little later, I'm going to do a poll just because I want to see what operating systems you guys are running on. And if you're running on mainframe and something else, or just mainframe or just something else, we want to know. But that's going to come after Renee's presentation, just to give more people time to come in. I don't have any other welcomes. Renee, Mark?
No, just welcome to everybody out there, and thanks for attending as always.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and let Renee take it away.
Okay. All right. Give me a second. My screen. Hide those controls. Okay. Ooh. I want to hide. Having fun today. Let's see. There we go. All right. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, as Walter said, you're going to get something out of this. And my idea in doing something about drilling with Designer is drill downs obviously are such an important feature. And while I suspect a lot of you do know how to configure drill downs, and I'm going to review that initially, there's a lot of other great features that are available with automatic drill downs that are available that maybe you're not aware of that you can leverage. And they're really great features. And you might think, oh, well, maybe I really can't use that for certain cases, but you can. And so hopefully I'll give you a little bit of insight today. So the very first thing, I'm running in 9.2.3, certainly applicable to 9.3 as well. And I'm going to start with creating a visualization. So I just do a create
Renee?
Visualization. Yes?
Kathy had a thing about could you do a bigger screen, please? But so Kathy, I'm seeing her screen as the whole screen. So you might have to adjust your settings of the Zoom session. Maybe you need to make that bigger.
Yeah, I'm definitely showing the whole screen on this one. Yeah.
So maybe when you get a chance, if you can increase the font size a little bit, maybe that would help.
I have it but yeah, I can. But I try to not make it too big. But okay, let me get in first, and then I'll adjust accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
So the very first thing I want to do is go in. Anyway, I'm going to pick retail samples. And I'm going to pick WF Retail Light and create a visualization. And so I'm just coming in fresh off. And, if you know WF Retail Light, there's a lot of fields. And this is against the flat file, so it'll be a little slower rather than going against the relational database. I did that deliberately for some of the links to showcase it. But I'm just going to pick up something. I'm going to leave it a default chart type, and I'm going to pick out product category and revenue, and you'll see I'll utilize that a lot in all the samples. And the very first thing I want to talk about is configuring drill downs. Now, when you're in a chart within Designer and you're on a measure, if you right-click, contextually get a whole bunch of different options, and today we're not going to go through them, but one of them is configure drill downs. Now, if you're on a horizontal, you won't see that option. It's usually measures when you're talking about in terms of a chart. Now, if you're in a report, so that would be like a standard report over here. In that case, you would be able to right-click and see configure drill downs for rows, column groups, which are your cross fields, as well as your bucket for whatever type of report you're doing. If it's an aggregate like sum, it would be sum, and you could do on the measures directly as well. But here on a chart, you get it within, and we're going to do it on the vertical. So let me hit configure drill down. And hopefully this is showcasing it large enough for you to be able to leverage. So I'm going to, the very first thing you come in when you're configuring drill down for the very first time is you get a little plus here, and it tells you to configure the first drill down, click here. And if you see, if I hover, it says create new drill down. So I'm going to do that. And what it does is it will create, say, drill item 1, very first time. You'll notice you'll get like a little exclamation mark with the red around it telling you it's an incomplete drill down at the moment. So you don't have the apply button to save it, right? And then you're going to get different types of drill downs you can create. And the 3 different types of drill downs you can create is to content or page, right? That's a report or chart or a designer page, or a URL. So we can go to a direct URL. And then I could also call a JavaScript function. And if you know the code, you'll know underlying what gets created, and I could showcase that for everyone that's the coders out there, and I know there's a lot of you, so I'll showcase that as well. So we're going to keep the type for this first one as content page. And then if you see there's the content page path, so you have to choose content. If you hover over the little icon, it'll let you choose. And then I can pick out something. I'll go to my workspaces, and here, retail demo, and I'll go to small widgets, and this is just something I have, and I'll pick category sales, and I'll click open. Now, category sales has actually a lot of parameters in it, 6 to be exact. So you'll notice the very first thing it did is it populated down this parameter section. I'll get to that in a moment. But I just wanted to cover, you also have the load in. I can load it in a new window, current window, or a window frame, and give it the frame ID if necessary. And I have the ability with parameters to add additional parameters, et cetera, so forth. But what I like about showcasing this example is the fact that the content that I picked up actually had parameters and for variables already set up. And it pulled them all in. So I can see product category, model, business region, store type, time date 2. Those are the actual parameter names. And then field, and there's an option here to type field global variable value, but it'll pick field. But the field value here is just what's in the actual request that I'm creating right now, right? So I don't have all of those fields. Actually, the only thing I have in here right now in this chart is product category and revenue. And that's why when you look at the little drop down and you click it, you'll see I have revenue. And because revenue's first, that's what you see here for all of them, and product category. So I can select product category for that one. But these other ones, I don't need them, so I can just delete them. And I can take the little X's off. And all I plan is to pass in the product category into this drill down. Now, you notice because I completed everything, you don't have that little red icon with the exclamation point anymore, and I have the apply button available to me. So I'm going to click apply. And now, right now, that drill down is available, but it only is activated or truly available at runtime. So if I actually run this in a new window, you'll see that I get a very simple chart. Again, this is a very basic chart just for demonstration purposes. But you can see, right, that I haven't clicked yet, but if I hover over, it's linkable. And let's do stereo systems, and if I click that, what it's going to do is going out and it's saying, oh, that's content, and I'm going to run that category sales, and I passed in stereo systems. And of course, if I wanted to, I certainly could pick another option, and I would get media player, and then I would see that it passed in media player into category sales as the output. So very simple, very straightforward. And again, I know this is a simple example, but I wanted to showcase it just so that you can see how simple it is to configure a drill down within Designer. Now, obviously, there's more options, so I want to come back in and go back to configure drill downs. And now, if I want to add, and actually, before I do that, let me just cancel out of here. I could exit cancel. I wanted to go to the outline again for you coders and right-click on content, view source code, and then you could see actually what was created for the drill down. And I highlighted it over here. And I know it's a little bit small, but you can see really it's just a FOCUS exec call equal, passing in where I said the content. And then you could see for the value, you could see product category, there's the parameter and the field being passed in and everything, just so that you could see that. Because I want you to see the difference in the output. So let me just close that out. So now I want to add another drill down. And you'll see that the source code does change a little bit. And for the coders out there, you know, drill menu item is actually what, that kind of gives you the reason why we kind of did when we did we call it drill item. So let me add another one. And the way to add it is just click a plus here. And it adds another one. And by default, it'll just do a default name, drill item 2. And I'll showcase how you can rename and reorder these as well at the end. So let me go through and say, okay, this drill item 2, again, it's not completely available and corrected, so my apply button is not available. And I'm going to make this a JavaScript function call. And I'm going to do just something very simple just to showcase it. And a JavaScript function that's just available, I'm going to just say, make it an alert. And then I could say, okay, well, I need to pass a parameter. I could pass a field if I wanted to, but this is an alert. I'm going to say it is a value. And I'm just going to give it some text saying this is a JS test. And just something simple, basic, just to, helps if I do a complete sentence there. But you get the idea, right? So I'm calling a JavaScript alert function a value. And all I did was click plus. The type is a value because that's what's being passed in. If I was a field being passed into the function from something from the request, I could say field as well and then pick that field from the drop down. And then I'm just going to click apply. And if I run that, now what you'll see is a little different. Before it was just clickable, but now you'll see you actually get items, and it says drill item 1 and drill item 2, and drill item 2 is just the one I created, and you can see I get my little alert out. But of course, I could still pick, if I wanted to, pick drill item 1, and drill item 1 is still going to go out there and run my category sales content with passing in the product category value that I set up. Okay, so let's say I want to do something else. Let me add and configure drill downs again, and I'll add another one. And this time it's item 3, and this time I'll do a URL, and I'm just going to let's call Google. To call IBI.com too, hey. But, and I'll say new window. And I'm just not going to do anything else. I'm not passing in parameters. It's just a straight URL call. You certainly could do that. Let me apply that, and let me run that. And when I run it, you'll see now I have 3 drill downs. And if I click 3, you'll see I go right to the Google page. And the reason why I like to showcase this one is just because I like to show the different options that are available with the URL, as well as the other features, but it's easier this way. Let me just close this out. And oh, by the way, let me go to the view source code and showcase that now you can start seeing, right, there's drill menu items. When we did the first 2, it would have had drill item 1 and 2. And now we just added the third one where it's calling that URL. Okay, so I'm going to come back in. I'm just going to enhance that URL call a little bit. So I'm going to go down to item 3, and I'm going to add a parameter. And this first one, I'm just going to say my val. And I'm going to say it's a value, a type value. I have field, global variable, a value. I'll pick value. And then I'll just say, like, my value, just to type something in there. Okay, can't type. And so my val, okay. Now you'll see when I apply this and I actually run it, the difference is we still get, right, our drill down. But drill item 3 now, when I call, it passed to the Google URL. Right? My val is my variable name that I called it, and there is the value encoded. Okay, so what if it's a little bit something else that I want to add? Maybe I want something that's the field value that's within this request and I want to pass it. Maybe I'm going to be passing it and it needs to be called something PCAT. And I could say that it's a field. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong thing. And see, this is how you need to make sure you pick up the right one, right? So I did that. So let me come to drill item 3. Here I'm in my val. Let me click plus, and here I'll say PCAT. And then say field, right? And then I'll pick out product category just to pass that in as well. And apply that way and run. And now, when I run it, you can see also a path product category. And what's also cool about the drill downs that's configurable, and again, I'm showcasing it here with a URL just because it makes it a little bit easier. but come back to drill item 3, you also have the ability to call a global variable. So let me say I say gval. And then here I can actually pick global variable. And that certainly could have been if I was doing a JavaScript call or a content page call. If I needed to pass a global variable in, I could do this as well. I'm just showcasing it here just because it's very easy to see from a URL perspective. And I haven't set any global variables up. These just happen to be in the environment. I'm going to pick Geo Unified Role. That'll be on. And if I apply that, great. And then I run it. And again, I still will see the 3 links. And obviously, they're all available on each one of them, passing the appropriate value in as needed. But pick drill in item 3, and now you can see it has the gval on because that was that global variable value is on for that particular global variable. Really, really great and easy way to do these features, and it's that simple to configure. And it's really, and again, going back to just the view source, I love to showcase it. You can see where the things have been added on, so you can see it from a code perspective as well, right? So the drill menu items, if you were to manually code, that's what you would see, right? So what else? So this is for a chart. And notice, remember I said configure drill downs, right, is available here on the actual measure and everything, right, for charts, typically depending on all the different chart types and everything. So let me just say I convert this to a standard report, just so you can see. Because I did it on revenue, right, it puts it in the summaries bucket by default if I convert to a standard chart. And here I have my rows, that's my by field. So I didn't configure it there, I configured it on revenue. You can see that, and certainly I could click here, and I can go to configure drill down, and I can update these as appropriate and everything like that. But I just wanted to showcase it to you that you do have the drill downs here. But what I also wanted to show is that I could add something else, like maybe let's say sale year to column groups. And you can see for product category, right click, I have configured drill down option, as well as for the column groups, as well as for any of the measures for report style, right? Chart's a little bit different, and I kind of just wanted to showcase that. So that really is all you need to know in terms of configuring manual drill downs. It really is that simple, that basic. And if I were to come back to, let me just undo, and I'll come back to the chart, right? So we still have our configured drill downs, right? And excuse me, probably because I undid too much. Yeah, there we go. All right. So you can see I still have my drill downs here with the chart and everything. And just to know, right, you get the little icons here showing you the different drill down types. And then I can actually, you know, move these around if I want to change the order. Certainly just drag and drop. It's that easy. If I double click, I can say what I want to call it. So I could call this, if I want, content link. This is an example. You know, this one was the JavaScript, so I'll call this as a JavaScript link just for simplicity. And then this was the URL. Click that in. One thing you'll note in 9.2, we fixed this to 9.3, that the global variable, if you come back to it, it does get reset to whatever the highest value is. If you come in and edit, you do have to change it back. That is something that we have corrected with 9.3, just to be aware of that in terms of functionality. But you can start moving this around, and let me just apply. And then you can see when I run this, right now, you'll actually see the link names, and you can see I reordered them, and everything will work functionally as you would expect it to. It really is that simple. But so, okay, that's great. Now I configure these manual drill downs, and that's exactly what I need for a lot of business cases. But, you know, we have a lot of great features that are available to you that are beyond the scope of this. So let me just, if I wanted to just save this and just call it configure drill chart, you know, for today, 2020, or 0621, right? Okay, I'm going to save it. just to get out. So I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to create another visualization because I want to showcase these other features that are available to us within Designer. So I'm going to pick Retail Samples again, WF Retail Lite, create a visualization. And I'm going to now discuss what other features we have. So I kind of kept this a little bit bigger. Hopefully it's big enough. But here down here, if you go to, you're in the Properties panel with Settings and Format, right? And you're in the Settings tab, and you scroll down to Interactivity. There's a lot of great options here. It's simply checkbox, but knowing that they're available and what they offer is great. So there's this feature called Auto Drill. So Auto Drill gives you the capability, right? So this creates automatic drill downs for you without you having to manually create like I just did with configure drill downs. And again, configure drill downs, absolutely valid and necessary and a great feature, and you absolutely need them. But there's a lot of automated options that are available, and that's really what this discussion was to lead into. So if I decide to select Auto Drill, what it does, it takes and will create drill down links in reports and charts. So whether it's a report or chart visualization, but you have to have actually hierarchical data. Let me just show you. You see how here it's enabled because I came in WF Retail Lite. But let me just create real quick another visualization just to showcase that. Let's say I came into using the car file. Car file doesn't actually have hierarchical data, like within saying one thing is a hierarchy in the other, within a synonym. You notice the Auto Drill is not available. It's disabled, right? Because it doesn't see any hierarchies in the data, so it doesn't even allow you to leverage that feature. I'm going to close that out. So I just want to showcase that. But here I am in WF Retail Lite, and certainly does, so I can certainly make that available. And what it does is, you know, it would be on a dimension, right? Because dimension is a way to categorize your data and your sort output, right? It's a way you can analyze and compare measures. And they typically tend to be alphanumeric as a general rule, right? So let me just add revenue first to this. And I'm going to add revenue. You can see up here, I have revenue added. Very simple, right? I don't have any sort. There's no horizontal here. And let me just click Auto Drill. And if I do that, and for these features that I'm talking about, they're really available at runtime. So you really can't utilize it in preview. You actually really do have to run it in order to activate it, to see it enabled and see the impact. And you can see where I'm here and I'm hovering. And I know, again, this is very simplistic and kind of silly, but it demonstrates the point here because I don't have any dimension in there. There's no hierarchy mentioned. You know, it's just a measure. There's nothing to Auto Drill to. Okay. So what do I do is I'm going to add product category to this. Let me add product category. By default, double click it. It goes into the horizontal bucket. And if I run it, terrific. It'll run through and create a simplistic chart, right? But now you'll see it'll say drill down to product category, a subcategory, right? Because product category is the high level of the hierarchy, the higher level field of the hierarchy, and I can drill down to product subcategory, let's say on media player. And then when I click that, it'll come and bring up another chart, right? And now you can see I get breadcrumbs up here. And now when I hover over, it tells me I can reset to go back to the original Auto Drill request that I started out with, or I can go back up to product category, or I could use the breadcrumbs as appropriate, or I can drill down to model. So I can drill down to model. And certainly, if I click that, and again, I deliberately use slower data just so you can see the links a little better. And now, because I'm at the lowest level of the hierarchy, it tells me I can go up to product subcategory or I can reset. And again, I can come here back to home as well as an option. So certainly, those are available to us. Okay.
Renee?
Terrific. So now, yes.
Can you possibly show the synonym so they can see and I can see how the hierarchy looks like in the master?
Okay, we're running short on time, but in WF Retail Lite, let's go through real quick. Let's see where I had retail samples. And let's just text. Let's see if we can see. You would see it as a within. I have to go through. let's put that for the very end or after everybody's thing, just because I kind of want to make sure that I get
Sure.
through everything that I'm supposed to talk to. But definitely what you would see is within, to see
Okay.
that hierarchy is why you don't see it in car, and that I mentioned it. And I just don't want to hold it up because I know we're running very short on time and I still have a few things to talk about. So I appreciate the question. Definitely can showcase it afterwards.
All right, thanks.
So thank you. Sorry. Okay, so that's auto drill. Now I can make this a report. So let me just showcase a report really quick and do it as a report. And now that you see I have as a report, you don't see the links here, right? And I still have auto drill checked. I'm going to run through and you'll see what happens with a report. So with a chart, you hover over it and then you can click it right here. You'll get the drill down hyperlinks. And if I click that, then you'll see the menuing item to drill down to product subcategory as an example here. Now, certainly I can go through that and you can walk through an example on your own if you set up the tutorial for WF Retail Lite. But let me just add another thing. What if I added something else? Let's see, store business region. And I run that. And now remember, I'm a report. So you could do this for a report or a chart, right? Doesn't matter either. It's just a little bit different and I like to just showcase it. But I wanted you to see that the links get created, and the difference that you see is you'll see right here, you got accessories, right? And if I click that, it says drill down to product subcategory because I'm at the highest level. Or if I click North America, which is a store business region, it's a different hierarchy. I can drill down to the store business sub-region. And what's great with report, if I do pick that, because I'm picking a link and it knows the store fields that are all available to it, it actually takes that into account in terms of filtering. And that's why I wanted to showcase this. Walter, do you think I have enough time that I can go another 5, maybe 10 minutes? Would that be okay?
Mark, are you going to go full time?
Yeah, mine is not going to be that long, so let Renee have the show.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So here I have accessories, and then it did the store business subregion. Now, of course, I can still click down and notice it gave the breadcrumbs. And if I pick the other hierarchy and drill down to product subcategory, right, it'll actually show me multiple breadcrumbs. Well, I'll just let that run. And again, I deliberately picked a slower database and environment just to showcase it a little bit clearly when you're viewing this back for recording purposes. So you can see that. It's a really great feature. Now, it's a little bit different. Now, this is a report. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to switch this back up to a chart, right? And I'll move product category back to horizontal. I'll make it look like what it was before. And I still have auto drill available. Now, what if I put store business region as color? A little different now when you get, because you already saw the drill down when it was just product category on the chart and everything, right? Drill to the subcategory and then the model, or up back to the subcategory if you're at the model level, etc. Right? So let me just run this. Now you're going to see it a little different when the drill downs get created because of the way we deal with in terms of charts, right? Because of the multiple dimensions. And so for that reason, we actually give you extra hyperlinks to go through. So now I'm here, I'm on Stereo Systems North America, and I can drill down to, and let me hover back over here. I can drill to the store business subregion, or with filters, or the product subcategory, or with filters. So what that means is if I pick the store business subregion to drill down to, it'll narrow down the scope of that store business, the business region I'm in, down to those subregions. But in terms of the product categories, I'll still keep all of them, right? So let me just click that one just to showcase it real quick. And again, I know it's just going to take a little bit, but I want to showcase this because it's a little different when it's report versus chart. Right now, if you can see that I still get all the product categories, right, going across here, you can see. But you can see that the sub-region is down to North America based on the business region that it came into, right? So now I can actually, if I wanted to, reset and go back to what I originally had when I first started this, right? I only did one link, but I just want to show you the difference in terms of the filters, right? So that you can see when you select the different drill down. So let that come back. Now I'm going to hover and I'm going to drill down to the store business sub-region with filters. And now what it will do, and I know the chart will be a little kind of still right, but you're going to see, because I was on stereo systems, you'll still see the store business sub-regions broken down, but now you only see the stereo system. So that's a little bit of the difference between a report and chart, and when you have multiple dimensions with a chart versus you have multiple source fields, right, with a report. So just so that you're aware of that. Great feature, but it's taking advantage of hierarchies. Now, what if it was like car? What if I don't have hierarchies in my data? Well, we give you that option too. So I'm going to take out and just come back to revenue and product category. And I'm going to uncheck auto drill for the moment. By the way, you might have noticed that if you check any of these other ones, that run with insight is not available. Very good feature with charts if you're ever interested. Run with insight gives you the ability to give the user with the content that you build for them to pick measures and dimension and dynamically change and refresh their chart on the fly. Very great feature. But if you utilize that, then these don't become available. So it's mutually exclusive. That's why you'll see that run with insight grayed out. So here's another feature. So drill anywhere. Drill anywhere. I still have my revenue and product category. Really what it is, it's basically an enhanced version of auto drill. It doesn't require that you have hierarchies as part of your data. So for the car file, I could have leveraged this, and it certainly could have taken advantage of it. So I'm just going to say, okay, drill anywhere. I have revenue and product category. I'm going to run through and run my chart. And now you'll see it's a little bit different, right? You'll see drill 2. And when you'll see why I get all of these options. So I'm going to come here to computers and drill 2. And I can scroll down through all the fields that I have, and I'm going to pick like customer country just to showcase it. And so you can navigate your way through all different levels without having created any drill downs manually like I first showed you with configure drill down, or have to depend on a hierarchy like with auto drill. Very, very cool feature. And I just don't think enough people are aware of it, or they think that there's a limitation, and I'm going to showcase that in a moment, how there really isn't. So drill 2, sale year. Just going to pick something up the top and everything. And then I could keep going through like the sale year quarter, and then I could pick out, you know, the year 2023, and then I could pick out brand, and I could just navigate through further just to showcase that. So rather than spend the time showcasing it, I just wanted to demonstrate that that's available to you. Now, certainly, if you run this as a standard report, let me come back here. So I have to run it to see it. And if I run it as a report, you'll see, right, it gets the drill downs, and I certainly could do the same thing, computer drill 2, and then I can come then and pick out what I picked out before, which was like customer country. And I can keep navigating further through that. So really great feature. It's so simple to use. It's really just a checkbox, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to go through and without having to navigate or create these drill downs for you. And you can navigate and see, you can see how you can do it for. And you certainly can have multiple fields to drill through. That's certainly available. One thing I want to showcase, though, that you might have thought was a limitation, and this is the same thing with auto drill, is, and I can actually showcase both of these if I wanted to, and just say if I ran and I checked both, I can have both of these available and run that. And what you would do is you would see multiple links. I just did it as a report just to showcase it since that's what I was there. I could you can see drill down to product category, to product subcategory, because that's doing the auto drill, but the drill 2 is the drill anywhere. So you can combine these together. Really, truly great feature. Now, one thing, because I know we're running low on time, even with the extra time, is you might have seen, if you try to convert this to a page, click if you click it, it gives you this message saying this will deactivate certain features, including Drill Anywhere, Auto Link, Auto Drill, or Run with Insight. I'm going to cancel. And that's true because this is an authored page off of new content, right? But if I create this and save this content on its own, I can bring it into assembled page, and that will be available, or even into a portal as content, standalone content, starting in release 9.2, you can do that. So let me just say I save this and just say my auto drill options, just to something to save, right? So I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back here and into, and then I'm going to create an assemble visualization. And that's what we called an assemble page, right? Versus based off of existing content, right? So I just created the auto drill option. I'm just going to bring that into this assembled page. Let it run. And again, this is a report, but the chart absolutely would do the same thing. But you can see now when I bring it into this page, this is an assembled page, it's available to me. I can deal with this. And then if I click, you can see I have the options. So really, don't think that because of that convert to a page with an author page, you're restricted from these features. You're certainly not. I'm just going to close that out. But what you can is you can do an assembled page, and these features are still available within the container if you enable them. And certainly if you have a portal, again in 9.2, you can actually reference single content directly on its own in the portal, which is bring it in or link it in. And that works as well. And these features are still available. Now, the one thing that I didn't talk about was auto link. So let me just come back. I'll do it as a chart just to showcase something different, to come back from a report versus a chart. And then I'll say blended. So now I have it, and I still have auto drill. And I'm just going to uncheck these just for simplicity purposes, right? Just to showcase auto link. Now, if I run with auto link, what does auto link do? Auto link goes out into the repository, and for anything where you've enabled as an auto link target, it's going to say, hey, if this parameter exists and it's available within that, then I can use that and drill to it. So here, I have a very simple environment. The auto links is enabled, and it picks up category sales 3. I'm on stereo systems, and if I go into that, it'll actually pass in stereo systems into that product category sales 3. Now, the reason why I want to showcase is that if you don't have your repository set up to have an auto link target, and so you can do here auto link target, but I want to showcase, if I go to my content where I have that, yes?
Time.
Okay, I literally 1 minute, I'm sorry. 1 minute, let me just showcase this. Category sales 3, if you right click on properties and you go to advanced, you'll see that this is an auto link target. If I uncheck that and I save and I come back and now I run this, that is no longer available to me. Now you see I don't get the auto link anymore. So if you don't have anything in your repository that's set up as an auto link target that matches up with it, then you don't get the auto link option. And again, you can combine all of that together. These are some great features, and you're not limited with pages as well. Again, you can do an assembled page and you get the full functionality, or you can add it as single content into your portal. So I know I'm way beyond my time. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I can address any of the questions and showcase at the end if there's a few minutes to go about the hierarchy, but I knew I was going to run short, so I apologize. I'm trying to give you so much information. I tend to always go over, so I apologize. But hopefully you learned some really great stuff today that you might not have been aware of that exists in the product. So thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Mark, before you start, I want to just throw out a quick poll. We want to know what platform are you using our products on? So we've got your choice of Windows, Linux, ZOS, or iSeries. And if you can select more than one. So if you're running like Mainframe and Windows, if you could identify those, then we would appreciate it. So I'll leave this up for a while. The answers are coming in. Windows is in the lead. Come on, Linux people. Come on, ZOS people.
Well, that's a good question, Walter, to see this.
All right, I'll leave this up for a while and let Mark go ahead and get started.
All right. So good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what everybody's asking me for. Mark, what can we do on all the platforms to look at performance, scalability? How do different FOCUSes or procedures run with each other? How do they coexist? Does it interfere with others? Or, for instance, I'm going to add a new application. This application are going to run these types of procedures, dashboards, whatever, and we want to see how it's going to affect the environment. A lot of customers today do have service level agreements with their users or vendors. They're guaranteeing or trying to guarantee that they receive this type of performance. So today I'm going to go in, and today I did it on the mainframe, right? I did see our mainframe customers coming in, but just be cognizant of the fact that this could run anywhere. So this is like scripting 101. We'll talk about that today and how do we do it. Let me share my screen and get started. So hopefully, Walter, you can see my screen.
I can.
Okay. So I'm going to log into our mainframe, and we will take it from there. So again, remember, this can be done on the other platform, but today I'm doing it on the mainframe. Recently, I've got a lot of requests on pretty much all the platforms. How well will this application work? How will it scale? And what do we do? We did a lot of work on the load simulator, scalability, whatever words you want to use. And it's actually part of the product now. A lot of customers are always wondering, what if I have, 30 users at the same time concurrently running an application or a diverse application? What do we do? So right from here, again, on the mainframe, I'm going to use vSAM and DB2. And in here, I built a couple procedures. I call them Focus Friday 1, 2, and 3. And we'll look at the procedure that's here. We'll open it up. And all this procedure is doing, going against the DB2 table. It's got 10,000 rows in it. And we're going to do a record limit of 1,000, and we're going to hold that file format PDF. So you can do it you can do Excel, PDF, HTML, etc., whatever you want. And we're going to run this procedure from here and show you how quick it runs. And it just says, because I'm holding the file, there's 1,000 rows in that output. It'll be paneled, etc. And I saved it as a PDF. So on this procedure here, let's go look at the server itself and see what's happening. So we're going to go over here to the mainframe side, just another browser session. And you can see that these procedures that I just ran. So if we go look at the first one here, QA VSM03, QA DB203, whatever I was running, it shows you how many IOs and the response time, the DBMS time. If it's vSAM, you won't see the DBMS time. That'll get propagated to the server time. But when it's a DB2, you'll see the DBMS time or relational database, and then the server time. And I'm also running it on the mainframe to show you that we take advantage of those zip engines. Again, it's not about that, but just showing you that the zip time, what percentage of the zip time we're using. So if we go back to the other browser, and let's go run this. And we'll run this here and say, right-click on the procedure say run advanced and run stress. And in here, in the tool and in the interface, it says how many threads. That's really how many users you want to run. The interval between each thread that fires. If you want to keep it alive, let's say I want to keep it alive for 30 minutes or a half hour or an hour. The test description, you can give it a name. And there's advanced parameters as well. A compare option compares the output from one run to the other to make sure it's valid. Immediate processing, you can repeat this how many times. We can show percentile stats. We can simulate browser caching, submit as deferred. We can also run them deferred. I know a lot of customers like to run things deferred, and we can trace it, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a plethora of options available here. But let's go in and let's just run this Focus Friday 1, right? The script name. And let's start it. So that ran, right, in exactly 7/10 of a second, right? It shows the DBMS time, 1/10 of a second, the server time, 3/10 of a second. Also, we give all kind of statistics here. The interval that you use, the average server response, data transfer time. How long does it take to get the first byte of data to the last byte? The average processing time, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, average DBMS time, etc. In the newer release to follow, in the 9.3.1, there's a whole different ball of parameters, etc. But again, this is the 101 class or introduction. So that ran, and it ran, right? And like I said, in 7/10 of a second. We can go back here and say now on the mainframe, let's run 5 threads and see what happens. So we're now running 5 threads of the same procedure. I'm running the same request 5 times. And notice it went up a little bit. Of course, it's going to go up a little bit because they're all running concurrently at the same time. And you can see here the execution time was 2.7, and each iteration of the run, each thread or user, if you want to call it that. And it shows you the start time, the end time, again, database time, and the name of the procedure up top. A number of customers recently wanted to run this as a procedure from the server. So not just from the GUI, that could even be another session, how to do that. So we have that one procedure here. We'll leave that up. We will now go look at the next procedure that I have. So we ran 1, we'll go look at 2. And we'll open 2 and see what it's doing. It's going against VSAM 3, and it's saying now 10,000 records. Let's run that. So we're going to go back here. And we're going to run 1 user first. It's always good to get a baseline of what these statistics are. So now we ran that, a little more data, and you can see that it wasn't bad. The performance, the execution time was 1.5 seconds. Again, the database time and the server time. And again, I would query everybody out there, the database time for VSAM is really in the server time. And then we have another one. We'll look at one that goes against DB2. And I think that was 3 I did. It was one of those. That's VSAM again. All right. And we're going against 100,000 rows now. So let's look at that and see if the performance starts to degrade. We'll run 1 user. And we'll get numbers here. And again, very fast. Didn't really matter. So for you people that are on mainframe, my mainframe right now is not that busy. If it's very busy, it would have to use, a parameter that you would set for what priority would get on the server. But this is not good enough. right? People are going to say, Mark, all right, it's cool. You can run this, you know, if we're going to run the same type of query. But a number of people requested from me, Mark, how can we do this with all the different queries at one time? You want a diverse workload, and you want it to be able to figure out, does that diverse workload interfere with performance? So we're going to go over here. We're going to go, let me just get my little things out of the way. There's a scalability tab on the reporting server. And we're going to go look at that and see what we have here. Where did I put that query? I think I put it in VSAM2. Focus Friday Nesson. Let's look at this a little bit. Wow, Mark, now you're going to get me confused. So there's scripting language here that could even be another session. You know, when Walter Brengel helps me, we'll help everybody else and go through this. Notice that the strategy, this bang CGI request, talks TCP/IP to the server. I'm not going through the WebFOCUS mid-tier in this scenario. And I can say begin thread 1 and 2. That means run this one twice. Okay, and there's the procedure I'm running. And then I say run thread 3 and 4 and run Focus Friday 2. And then I have 1, 5, and 6 for Focus Friday 3. Look at the magic this can do for you. Everybody needs this because everyone calls me and says, Mark, listen, when we have a busy month end, performance is not as good as when we run on a daily basis. So this script here will go back and we'll fire this off. And when we start it, you can't change it. I'm running 6 threads, begin thread 1 through 6. I give it a half a second interval, and we're going to fire this. We're going to say start. Now they're all running at the same time. So now we're competing for resources within the address space, as well as the procedure running. So what do you think ran already? Number 3 and 4, where we bring it back more data, took a little more time. And you can see the stats on the bottom. Total execution time was 16 seconds. And you could break it down by server response, again, database time and server time. So if we go back and we look over here and we refresh the server, we can see that these tasks ran. Focus Friday 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 3 and 3. Depends how they came to the server. You see what master file we're going against. You see how many IOs, right? One of them was 10,000, one was 100, and one was 1,000. The response time. These numbers match my script verbatim. DBMS time and server time, and as well on the mainframe, any zip and zaps I'm using, what type of the engine I'm using. Also, part of that scalability is when we go back over to here, we can go to look at this, and there's also a performance reports. So I got tired of writing all this down. And in here now, we can go in and we keep stats for every run or iteration that you wanted to run, and it gives you all these different numbers. What do you think of this, guys? Is it going to help you on your environment? Absolutely. Again, adding a new application, adding additional 200 users, will it affect performance? Well, use the load simulator tool as part of the server. This load simulator tool also can run from Windows to mainframe, Windows to System I, Windows to Linux, and the full 360-degree circle. Walter, can we query the field and see how many people are using this today?
we'd
By
have
a
to create
raise
a
your
poll
hand?
for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, if everybody, yeah, we can do a raise your hand. So you want to know how many people are using the stress?
right, in some form or fashion.
So if you could raise your hand and let us know, we would appreciate that. We got 3 hands raised. 5. Look at that. Oh, no, somebody backed out. Spread down to 4.
Right, so what it shows me,
A handful.
yeah, a handful. And it should be everybody using this, not just a handful. And again, this script could be very involved, meaning we could run it through the WebFOCUS mid-tier to the reporting server. If you'd like to see that, request that to Walter. We can show the full, again, 360-degree. But without running this, you will not know what the performance will be like for your users. Imagine having, this magic wand or this crystal ball available for you to help. So that's it. Are there any questions, Walter, from anyone?
No, I don't see any at this point. Oh, wait, is this available to developers or just administrators?
Administrators need to run that. Yep. Terrific.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you.
All right, so if you haven't responded to the poll, I still have it up. And we'd appreciate it if you did. It looks like about half of you responded, or maybe a little more than half, which is appreciated. We're going into the mainframe part of the session. So if you are not a mainframe customer, specifically mainframe FOCUS at this point, you don't have to stay. As you leave though, please remember to fill out your evaluations. We read them, we take the information from there. Anything you want to see in the future, put it on the evaluation and we'll try to accommodate that. So I appreciate everyone who has come so far. And then mainframe guys, stick around and we'll get started here in a second. We should have some exit music. So Mark, there's a question starting in rel. I guess that's the stress stuff you're talking about, Kathy. That's always been in the product, hasn't it?
It has, but it's really advanced in the later releases, Walter. Right. Again, the way I did it today was just from the procedure on the server. But what most of you really need is the full 360-degree from browser to the WebFOCUS mid-tier to the reporting server and back. And that scripting is a little complicated. But
Yeah,
again, nothing's too complicated for these guys. These guys are great.
Okay, answered live. Done. All right, let me share my screen. And start my presentation. Okay, so right now Linux and ZOS users are equal. So come on, ZOS guys, answer the polls. Let's at least beat out Linux. Okay, let's start over here. Just this, minimize that. All right, just getting my screens all set up. Okay, so I'm going to talk, this is the mainframe part of the session. So if you're not interested in the mainframe, you might not be interested, but thank you for sticking around. I'm going to talk about the new IBI FOCUS installation. So for those of you that have been with us for years, Remember, you used to run iSetup and you would have an FTP site and we'd send you credentials and everything would go directly to your mainframe. Well, it doesn't quite work that way anymore. So pass through all this. So we're going to talk about how to download the files from eDelivery, how you get your files to the mainframe, what happens when you run iSetup, and then how to test the install. So first you go to eDelivery, which is edelivery.tibco.com. You'll need to sign in and you need to have the IBI FOCUS product as part of your entitlements. So when you first go to eDelivery, you're going to see all products. So you can enter FOCUS in the search bar. And then you're going to select IBI FOCUS. You'll get the list of all of the versions that may or may not be available. I say may or may not because I'm looking at an internal view, so you might not see all the different versions that I see. So this is basically just showing you this is what's available, and then you can click on go to download. And in fact, on your version of what you see, you might not even see that screen because it seems like an extra step to me, but that's just me. So on this slide, you're going to select your version, your operating system, and then you're going to check the EU-LA acceptance. And then you have your choice of full product download or individual file download. Now, I always do the full product download. The full product download I like because it will give you all of the documentation along with the product. But if you already have the documentation, then you might not want to get it again. We click on download. And then it'll open up, you'll get a message box that says, do you want to download the installer? And we have a whole install process, which will go out and get the individual components. You tell it where on your PC you want to put the files. It goes through the progress. And then eventually you get all of the files in your download directory. I thought I had a slide that showed all the files, but I'll show them later if not. Here, let's just do this. So it goes on your desktop. And it's under TIBCO. And then IBI FOCUS. And this is 924 I just did. So these are the files that you would see under there. All right, so now once they're on your PC, you have to FTP them to your mainframe. So if you're prior to if you're prior to 930, you have a choice. You can create your temp files on the mainframe on your MVS side. And these are going to be the XMIT files that you're going to transfer. Once you get the XMIT file on your mainframe, you will then have to receive them. But all of the XMIT files are standard IBM file formats of a fixed block 80 and a 3120 block size. You can then binary FTP the tar file from eDelivery, and that would be in your directory structure, to your USS side of your mainframe. On the USS side of your mainframe, you can expand the tar file to the individual transmit files, and then you can just use the CP command to copy them from the USS side to your MVS temp file that you created in step 1. Okay, that's an example. Once you have all the files copied, you have to receive each of them, and then that will get you the true f.home.files that you're going to use in iSetup. Okay, so that's the first option. The second option is to create the temp files again, but instead of transferring them to your USS side, you can expand the tar file to individual files using a Windows utility like WinZip. I think 7Z will do the tar file, WinZip will do it. I'm sure there are others. Native Windows command window, not the CMD window, the command window it also has a tar feature in there. Once you have them individually expanded on your local PC, then you can binary FTP each of the individual files directly to the temp files you did in step 1. And then you receive each file to get to home, just like before, and then run iSetup. If you're a 9.3.0 or higher, so 9.3.0 is the latest release, soon to be out with 9.3.1. Oh, and before I forget, and I should have said before while everybody else was here, next month's Focus Friday is going to be July 12th, not the 19th. So it's not going to be the third Friday, it's going to be the second. And you might ask, why is that? And there's going to be some great announcements coming on the 19th. So we got bumped. But it's all good. So for 9.3.0 or higher, you're going to binary FTP a .run file. So that's new. We didn't have a .run file before. But the whole purpose is we're trying to make this as easy as possible for the end user. So we have a run file which will do all of the uncompressing of the individual files and creating of the files on MVS, as well as doing the receive, all for you behind the scenes. So you're going to binary FTP the run file that you got from eDelivery to your USS side, execute the run file using the sh command, and then proceed to run iSetup. So before we had, what, 4 or 5 steps in order to get the files before we got the iSetup? Here, you're just transferring it, executing the run command, the run file, and then going to iSetup. So this is an example of running the run file. So here, the name is going to be a little longer when you get it directly from the file. I shortened it just to save some keystrokes. So to run it, it's sh space and then the file name .run. You get a message saying creating PDS _SF, verifying archive integrity, and you get a percentage counter going up to 100%. Then we're going to uncompress the Focus libraries. Again, you'll get a percentage counter. Enter the high-level prefix for temporary installation datasets. So this is going to be the name on your MVS side. That's going to be the high-level qualifier of your f.home files as part of the installation. So here I'm using qcsPDS.df9300m.g2961, which is the generation version of this current 9.3 version. It'll create the temporary data sets, and then it'll populate the high-level qualifier data sets, which are the final data sets. You'll get a countdown again of the percentage. It took 22 minutes. And then you get a message, all data sets are successfully restored. To complete installation, run iSetup. So these are the files that it created, the f.home files I was talking about. So you get these 8 files: home access, bin, data, errors, etc, effects for FocExecs, load, and mass. Again, you don't have to do anything with those once you're done. It's already ready for you to use. All right, so now let's take a look at iSetup. So I have a left and a right, and I'm showing you on the left the pre-9.3 iSetup versus the 9.3 and up iSetup. Because there's a little bit of difference, which you should be able to see on this first slide. So on the left, for prior to 9.3, we have 2 options: install and configure, refresh. Okay, most of the time, you're just going to use option 1. You're going to install and configure. In 9.3 and up, though, we have an extra option, option 3, which says install and configure Focus Studio environment. And you're all probably wondering, what is that? Well, you're probably not wondering if you've been with us for a while with us being the Focus Fridays. Okay, Mr. Blood had to leave, and that's just the things. Okay, cool. So Focus Friday is a new product which is coming it's out in 9.3.0, but it's officially going to be mentioned and launched when we come out with 9.3.1 in July. All right, where am I? So you fill out the form. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Input source should always be disks. And notice in the 9.3.1, we even took out the option because you can't do a tape option. I don't even think you can do it in, I guess depending on where you are pre 9.3, you might have a tape option. All right, next screen shows your input library high-level qualifier and your output library high-level qualifier. Note for what I'm doing the input file and the output file exactly the same. So I'm using my base files, and then I'm going to have an end product that's going to use the same high-level qualifier. The advantage to this is I don't have to copy all the data sets because they're already ready to use, to be used. I'm doing this for both the 9.2 and the 9.3. Okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, we validate that. We go to the next screen. On the left, prior to 9.3, actually it's the same on both. You get a please confirm the following. So you're just confirming your input and output and your installation JCL library. Notice is going to this conf.data. You have the option of previewing the output allocations. If you preview, you're going to see the output allocations, but you're not actually going to run the ICE setup. So that has to be no. And in order to run the JCL, you have to have an S for the continue. And that's in both cases. You can, for your continue, you can create the JCL, but not run it, which will give you an option to view it and see what's going on. I'm gonna come over here to stop the poll. So here I did an S in both cases and submitted them. Same messages in both cases coming to the output screen, and then it's both of them submit a job. You're basically done at this point. So we're checking the job to make sure that everything worked well. We have condition code zeros, and we do. And this is a list of all of our data sets. So we went from the 8 base data sets to now we have 40 with our high-level qualifier. The majority of these are aliases to the base 8. So your things like datacom.data, datacom.load, those are all aliases to one of the f.home libraries. The newer ones are these comp files. So Focus is now installed, ready to run. If you look at the conf.data, we have some members in here that are already done for you. If you have DB2 and you're connecting to DB2 using CAF, well, you're going to have to run IDB2 bind, which is the 7.7 and higher equivalent of GenFDB2. The focus is sample JCL to run a focus session based on the high-level qualifier that you provided. Focus C is a C list, so you can run interactively. So here I'm putting an EX in front of the Focus C to start an interactive focus session. And this would be the same for both versions, which is why I don't have a left and a right anymore. So here I get to the Focus command prompt. If this is a new install, you're going on a new CPU, a new system, you might get license violations because you will need to have a good, valid license for wherever you're running. To test, I would do just a simple table file. I'm using the sysset file. The sysset is an FMI data set or master, and it will go out and give you the listing of all the current set values. So I'm doing a print value and I'm truncating it to 20 characters. The value description by set name. Now the set name is also large, so I'm truncating it to 12 characters. And then by the current value, which I'm truncating to 20 characters. And I'm looking for the set names of auto table F, save matrix, and external sort. So when I run this, I see auto table F value is current value is on, external sort is on, save matrix is off, but my available values are on or off in all three of these cases. And the description gives you a better description of what the setting does, or the setting value does for that particular set. So everything came back okay. So I would say this install is good. And then for those of you who haven't been in interactive focus, we can fin to get out of focus. All right, so recommendations. When you receive the f.home datasets, identify them as a shipped version. So even if you don't receive it, if you run the .run file, you want your output final datasets, keep them as like a base. This way you always have a clean set of the files that we shipped. Then use the base to install to a different high-level qualifier for your production version. Okay. If you're copying to a new high-level qualifier, you don't have to copy the individual files over, but you can to the each of the f.home libraries. You could copy to the new high-level qualifier, or you just really need to copy the f.home.data into the new high-level qualifier, and then run iSetup from there. Now, when you do this, your input data sets are going to be the old version, the one you're coming from, and then the new high-level qualifier is going to be what you want the new version to be that you're running the iSetup from. And this makes life a whole lot easier. So it'll copy each of the individual f.homes for you. The only one it doesn't do is the f.home.data, which is why you have to do it manually first. And then if you're upgrading, you want to copy any settings from your old conf.cfg, conf.prf, and f.home.err files. So if you have edit serves, folk profs, folk parms, if you're doing hub sub type of things, accessing a remote WebFOCUS server, you might have an Odin. Anything that you have in these libraries for configuration purposes, folk parm, I don't know if I mentioned that one, you want to make sure that you're going to copy them over to keep the same environment settings. And that is all I have. So any questions? All right, I don't see any questions. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming and taking part in our poll. Looks like we're still tied, Linux and ZOS. Of course, Windows is the winner. We appreciate you coming. We'll see you next month on the 12th. Don't forget, it's going to be on the 12th. And there's a mini summit happening in Chicago in August. So if you want to come see me, I'll be live and in person, I think. Shay, is that still true?
Yes, it is.
I saw the agenda went out and I was on it, so I didn't want to assume.
Yes, Chicago, August 6th. So if you guys want to come and attend the summit, we'd love to have y'all. And as Walter just stated too about the Focus Friday, I will send out a reminder. You guys will also obviously get the invite, but we'll post it around IBI so you guys remember that it is a bumped up a week. And then
the next summit roadshow is going to be in New York, right? After Chicago?
That is correct. The next one after Chicago is New York on October 8th. And just FYI, the Chicago agenda is live today, so you can head out to the website and view the full agenda.
Looks like I get to see Lori. Yay! Lori, I haven't seen you since what, 2019? All right, everyone. Thanks for coming. Mark, Renee, any final thoughts?
Good. Just one thing I said within earlier, I'm thinking of parameter hierarchies. It was DB_roles with folders and master. So sorry about that. That was me just having a moment, but, and almost everybody's gone, but, you know, I put an article or something out there about it. So it'll be out there then.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. See you next month and take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.